Every family has traditions, and cooking is a way to live them. That quote comes from Anna Boiardi, who joins us today. Good morning, Anna.
Good morning.
Now, most of us never knew that Chef Boyardee was a real person, but foods carrying the Boyardee name have reached tables across America for more than 70 years. Tell us about Hector Boyardee, the face we see on the grocery store shelves.
Hector Boyardee was my uncle, my great uncle, my grandfather's brother, and he started the company with my grandfather and with their older brother, my Uncle Paul. And the company was started in 1928. And the reason why I wrote the book is because I wanted people to know that there was a real family behind the brand and a family that had a real culinary history. And they had all started working in kitchens and hotels and restaurants from the times that they were like 7 and 8 years old. And they came to the United States in the early 1900s. My Uncle Hector ran the kitchen at the famed Plaza Hotel in New York City when he was 20 years old.
Wow.
And from there went on to open restaurants, and their customers would always ask, like, how do you make this sauce and how do you make this pasta? Because I'm trying to make it at home and it's not coming out, the same that I'm having it in the restaurant. And they started giving people sauce to take home. And they thought, maybe we have something here. And they came up with this idea to can the sauce. And they started, testing it. And, very shortly thereafter, they came up with the idea to start the company. And it was then on every supermarket shelf in the United States.
Well, how neat to learn a little bit of history behind the name. Now, speaking of the name, the spelling has changed a little bit. Why did you change the spelling, or why was the spelling changed?
Well, when they were coming up with the name for the company, they wanted to use the family name, but they thought, oh, Americans are never going to be able to pronounce this name, and they're never going to be able to remember it. So they came up with the idea to put the phonetic spelling on the can so that people would be able to remember it. And, obviously it's 80 years later, and it's, the #1 selling canned pasta in America, so something worked.
It worked. And even kids, too, they can actually look at the can and know how to say it as well. Now, tell us about your childhood, memories of being in the kitchen with your mother and grandmother. I'd love to hear about that.
Right. So I was born in Italy, in a city called Piacenza, which is also where my Uncle Hector was born, and my grandfather. And I grew up in a family, food was not just a family business. It was really, a way of life. And I think you can't grow up in my family and not at least have a real appreciation for food. And, we always had great family dinners, and, everything sort of always revolved around food.
Right.
And we would, even when we would go to Italy in the summertime, we used to come home with suitcases. Some people go to Italy to shop for clothes. We would go to shop for food. So we would come back from Italy and we would literally have like 100 pounds of food in our suitcase. All of these things that at the time you couldn't find in the United States. So, where I'm from, we have tortelli, like you see here, and you really only see this in Piacenza. And this is one of my favorite dishes, and something that was really important to me to include in the book, and a recipe that I personally wanted to preserve, this is a spinach and ricotta filled pasta.
Yum.
And then, here we have gnocchi, which is like, a potato dumpling.
Wow.
And then I did a pear tart here just because that's one of my favorite desserts. But the book is very balanced, so you don't feel like if you don't have a foundation in cooking and you're afraid to try tortelli. There's really something for everyone. I also included very simple recipes, and then things that are more challenging.
Now, I know you have the lowdown, obviously, of the recipes, but growing up, did you cook from those recipes, or did you ever go and grab the Chef Boyardee canned food off the shelf?
I did. I did both. My mom, is a mom like, every other mom. So a lot of nights she cooked for us, but some nights she didn't have time, and she would let us eat Chef Boyardee. And one of my favorite things to make, which is actually still one of my favorite things, is the pizza kit. And this was really one of my first forays into the kitchen. And my mom would let me roll the dough, and then I would put there's a little can of sauce, and I would do the sauce, and I would put my little topping. And it was sort of like the equivalent of like an easy bake oven, except that I had the benefit of having my own name on the box.
Oh, how fun. I bet that was so much fun as a kid. Now, did you ever get tired of it?
No.
Nope, not at all.
I'm still not tired of it.
Good stuff. Now, what are some of your favorite recipes?
The tortelli is definitely one of my favorite recipes. I mean, I could eat pasta every day. It's definitely one of my, my go-to comfort foods. So I love that. I love vegetables, and we cook with a lot of vegetables in the north of Italy. So I have this recipe for caponata, which is, it's sort of a melody of cooked sautéed vegetables with that's in a tomato sauce, baked in a tomato sauce with a little bit of garlic and onion and all specialties of where I'm from.
Well, that sounds good, and I definitely want to check that book out. One more time, tell us more about that book and where our viewers can grab it.
So the book is called Delicious Memories. It's available anywhere books are sold, and it's on bookshelves now.
Well, thank you so much, Anna. It has certainly been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back.